If this is your first time here, welcome. My name is Dan. On this channel, I talk about wealth, health, and happiness, helping you to live better. In this video, I discuss the subject of being in a rut. I'll share with you steps to recognize that you're in a rut and strategies to elevate you from the rut as quickly as possible. I'll also discuss how the theory in Atomic Habits by James Clear allows us to combine habits with the theory of compounding to deliver astonishing results, getting and keeping you out of any rut. Identifying that you are in a rut. When you are in a rut, it feels like everything seems harder to do. You are more tired, you can't get into the flow, you lack motivation, you skip eating healthily and stop exercising. Your emotions level off and you stop feeling highs or lows. You feel directionless, and even the idea of doing things you once enjoyed now seems unappealing. Often, being in a rut means bad habits become normal. We start sleeping more, eating unhealthily, exercising less, and in general we stop evolving. Long versus short-term ruts. Ruts can last from days and weeks to months and years, and sometimes being in a long-term rut can actually feel like a safe place to be because nothing is notably wrong. You don't feel more or less stressed or anxious than usual, and the monotony of your life has become normal. But if you were to step back and see your life through a different lens, you would admit it wasn't quite how you'd planned it when you were younger. Something is missing, something is not quite right. Maybe it's that business you've always wanted to start but never got around to. Or maybe it's a list of those home improvements that you know will make your space fantastic, that you've never quite gotten around to. It could even be the relationship that you're in is not as fulfilling as you'd like it to be. Looking back, I spent almost 10 years in a rut working a job that wasn't fulfilling, but not really knowing what to do about it. So whether you are in a short or a long-term rut, the strategies and techniques to elevate yourself from the rut remain the same. So let's jump in. Do small, positive things to build momentum. When you are in a rut, it can often feel totally overwhelming if you focus on some faraway end goal. But if you start small with some positive change, you will find bigger things become easier. This is because you are benefiting from momentum. Momentum is what happens when you start something. Just by starting something, it suddenly becomes easier to do a little more, and then a little more. And before you know it, you've accomplished more in a short space of time than you could ever have imagined. It's important to appreciate these small wins. Getting stuff done can be broken down into feeling inspired, getting motivated, and taking action. But inspiration, motivation, and action isn't a straight line. You don't need to feel inspired to get motivated to take action. You can start wherever you want, and often the easiest place to start is by taking action. This action can then lead to the inspiration and motivation needed to take more action. As an example, a couple of months ago, I decided to explore minimalism and watched tons of inspiring YouTube content, but I actually didn't do anything about it until recently, when I decided I wanted to clear my kitchen. I started by clearing out pots and jars of food that had passed their expiry date. This action then inspired me to move to the next cupboard, where I got rid of all my old crockery. Within a couple of weeks, I'd cleared out all of the stuff in my flat I no longer needed. 3 carloads of stuff, all from this single action. Use monotonous actions. By using something monotonous to give you momentum, like making your bed, clearing the draining board, hoovering, clearing your inbox, or decluttering, you will find it easier to make that first small step. This in turn makes the next step seem much easier. Clear and organise your space. It's no secret that our mood is affected by our environment. Having a cluttered, unorganised space can have a negative impact on your mood. Design your spaces intentionally. The bedroom is for sleeping, the office for working, and the kitchen for cooking. and remove items in these spaces that aren't contributing to these activities. Throw away or gift to charity everything you've not used for 6 months and don't expect to use in the next 6. Start off with something simple like a kitchen drawer, as I did, or the bathroom cabinet, and methodically move through your home. Emptying a drawer or a shelf is super satisfying and can lead to the action that triggers other actions. Live intentionally. This for me has been the biggest game changer. Living intentionally for me means planning my day so that I am in control of what I am doing and when I'm doing it. I schedule blocks of time to activities that are aligned with my goals and then stick to these plans as best as possible, and don't let someone else's priority become my priority. Rather, I schedule in time to deal with these items at a time that suits me. For some people, routines can feel like obligations, particularly if you have a regular job where from 9 to 5 you are at the mercy of your employer. If this is the case, then you need to consider a mindset shift from have to want to or need to. This is where it is important to have established longer term goals, as your 9 to 5 job may be a means to an end, or it might be that having this job allows you to follow other passions, interests, or simply gives you the resources to be the best parent or partner you can be, and that is your long-term goal. However, if you still resent your routine, do something about it. Change it up. Exercise regularly. Everybody knows that exercise is crucial, not just in combating a psychological issue like being in a rut, but also in dealing with health conditions, boosting energy, promoting better sleep, as well as being fun and social. Now, you don't need to become a gym bunny overnight, but schedule in some movement into your day. For me, I walk around 90 minutes per day. My goal is 13,000 steps. I fit this in by getting up early and walking for 30 to 60 minutes before breakfast, and then by scheduling a walk right around lunch. If I still have some steps to do, I've even been known to walk around the flat until I hit my goal. Being physically healthy is the most important part of your life, as without your health, nothing else really matters, and so any exercise is better than none. Start by switching small car trips into walks. Park one road away from your destination. Find the parking spot furthest away from the supermarket entrance. Walk around the block when you're on a work call. The iPhone has an app called Health that monitors, amongst other things, the number of steps that you have done in any given period. Keep an eye on it and aim for 10,000. But remember, any steps is better than no steps. Socialise with positive people. Socialising with a positive person or group can be incredibly empowering. So go through your contacts, find 2 or 3 people who are mostly positive, drop them a message and ask them how they are. Arrange to hang out or catch up with them. Draw from their energy. Don't discuss your rut, but keep the conversation upbeat. Don't talk about you, talk about them. Draw some positive energy from them, bounce some ideas around. If this step has been a success, this meeting should have left you feeling invigorated, positive and happy. This is a great state of mind that you can build on. Get away from everything. Research has shown that it's not stress that can lead to anxiety and feeling in a rut, but the problem is that we don't take the time to effectively recover from the stress. We all feel stress. In fact, a little stress is good and can act as motivation to get stuff done. But not having a release from the stress is where the danger lies. Getting away from everything, even if only for a small time, can give you the chance to reset and reevaluate. Ideally, take a longer break, like a week or a long weekend. But if you don't have time, take an afternoon off, block it out on the calendar and look forward to it. Take a walk, enjoy some social media, read a book, take a drive, turn the music up, smile and laugh. Seriously, give it a go. Get away from the environment that is causing the stress, even if only for a couple of hours, as this gives you the chance to recover from the stress, which in turn enables you to deal with it better. Reevaluate your goals. Having goals is super important. It gives you focus and helps to keep you growing and evolving. Goals drive us forward. They give us purpose and energy. And when we hit them, it feels super good. But often we lose sight of our goals, or we just stop setting them. It's easier to just drift through life. Have you lost sight of your goals? Are they still valid, or should they be realigned? Whatever situation you find yourself in, set goals. Goals can have different time frames, from lifetime goals to more actionable daily or weekly goals. Start each day by asking yourself, what is the single biggest thing I want to achieve today? It doesn't need to be a huge thing, just something you know you can start and finish without too much time or effort. Do this every day for a month. That's 31 things you'll accomplish. Remember, we overestimate what can be achieved in the short term and underestimate what can be achieved in the long term. Remind yourself what excites you. When we were kids, answering that question was easy. But as we get older, we can lose sight of what it is that excites us and gives us that incredible feeling of anticipation as the event draws closer. Personally, for me, when I was young, it was all about sport. I used to look forward to games of rugby or cricket for days. I used to count down the hours on the day of the game. I reminded myself of this recently and decided to start playing football again. And whilst I don't count down the days to my weekly five-a-side, it's become important enough to be prioritised, and I really love it. It's so refreshing to have that feeling back. For 1 hour a week, my mind is cleared of work and stress and replaced with a pure endorphin high. It's exhilarating. Learn something new. When we find a new subject to get interested in, we are effectively kickstarting the action, inspiration, motivation cycle, which, as we know, can then create the momentum we need to get out of our rut. Human beings are predisposed to learn new things and evolve. We are inquisitive by design. When we learn something, we are keeping the neural pathways active and exercising the mind, which is a great way of staying mentally healthy. Manage dopamine highs more intentionally. Dopamine is a chemical released in the brain when you do something that makes you feel good. Dopamine creates a link between feeling good and what made you feel good. The brain then seeks out more of what made you feel good. Dopamine is produced when we eat great food, go shopping, or experience something new and exciting. However, we can also get dopamine hits through things like taking drugs such as cocaine. Social media also triggers dopamine release as it mimics human connection. But like most highs, once you experience that high, the next time it can take more of whatever it was that gave you that initial high. This is essentially what an addiction is, and more of us have become addicted to social media. What started as a 10 to 15 minute scroll on TikTok suddenly becomes hours, and before you know it, you've wasted the whole evening doing absolutely nothing constructive, leaving you feeling angry and frustrated. So rather than using social media whenever you feel, restrict access. Set time during the day when it's okay to check your social media. For example, when you are having lunch or taking a shit. Well, come on, who doesn't? By managing access, you can regain control, which completely changes your relationship with social media in a positive way, as you are no longer at its mercy. Doing this can be super liberating and empowering. Atomic habits. So now that we have some techniques to help us out of our rut, how do we integrate these into our everyday lives so that we can actually make them happen? This is where the power of habit becomes important. The author of Atomic Habits, James Clear, explains that habits are the compound interest of self-improvement. He goes on to explain that if you get 1% better each day for 1 year, you'll end up 37 times better by the time you're done. And conversely, if you got 1% worse each day, by the end of the year, you'd be close to zero. In order to make the changes, our new habits need to be clear and frictionless. We need to make them easy to accomplish. And by starting small and being consistent, you can see how powerful the power of compounding can be over time. In Atomic Habits, James breaks down the process of building a habit into 4 stages. Stage 1, make it obvious. Be clear exactly what the habit is, where it will be done, how it will be done, and how it will be measured. The human mind is predisposed to sabotage us. It can find all sorts of reasons to prevent us from doing the things we want. It tricks us on a daily basis, and so if your habit is not simple, clear and obvious, there's a big chance your mind will sabotage you, preventing you from successfully completing your goal. Stage 2. Make it attractive. Find a way of rewarding yourself for good habits. Make your environment more conducive to the habit that you are creating. For example, if you plan on introducing a home workout into your routine, intentionally design the space for your workout. Maybe a yoga mat, some inspirational music, a pre or post workout snack that you actually enjoy. For me, when I'm doing my 13,000 steps, I use the time to research video ideas, something which I find very satisfying and motivating. Stage 3. Make it easy. In his book, James Clear talks about reducing friction and environment design. He talks about creating fewer steps between you and good behaviours and more steps between you and bad behaviours. Making it easy is also why we start with baby steps when looking to create a habit. It's a whole lot easier to start small than it is to think big right from the start. After all, if you want to eat an elephant, you've got to start one mouthful at a time. Stage 4. Make it immediately satisfying. Whilst the idea of delayed gratification does play into the whole concept of the power of compounding, in order to develop habits, we need to find ways of creating immediate satisfaction, as our brains are wired to positively associate an action with a reward. As James Clear says, what is immediately rewarded is repeated, and what is immediately punished is avoided. It's important to ensure the reward is not counterproductive to the habit we are trying to create. So finding a way of personally rewarding the completion of a habit gives us a great chance of embedding that habit into our psyche. I know from personal experience how difficult it can be to get out of a rut. I also understand that some of the strategies above will not resonate with everyone. But what is important is that the principles of creating some positive habits that can start to make small changes can lead to massive growth. Being in a rut is difficult. Getting out of it is too, but it is possible. I've done it a number of times, including once recently, and I can absolutely reassure you that baby steps and keeping things simple and consistent really can make a huge change. We all strive to live a better life. We all want to be fitter, more attractive, have more money, have better relationships, but few of us actually take any action. I'm going to leave you now with a quote that changed my life. Thank you very much for watching.
I guess it comes down to a simple choice, really. Get busy living, or get busy dying.
Being in a rut is very, very different to being clinically depressed. If you are clinically depressed or have a history of depression, then it's super important that you seek the right medical advice. I'm not a doctor, and this video is not meant to be medical advice. It's just my view on what's worked for me.